We have to start with the obvious story of the week, which is inviting the team to identify their favourite part of evidence from the Wagatha Christie trial to date, because it has been gold.
Can we start off? We need to give context. Okay, so this if you've been living on the moon for the last 3 years, this is a trial, a libel trial. Started by Rebekah Vardy, who claims that, you might remember this, it was 2019, Colleen Rooney basically became a one-woman detective agency.
It was outstanding. The work was outstanding.
So she had a suspicion that somebody, one of her friends, was leaking stories to the tabloids, and they were particularly, very invasive of her privacy. So she began this campaign on Instagram to basically weed out and try and find who that person was who was passing on these stories.
And she was putting up quite ridiculous stories, wasn't she?
Because this is what she did. This is her detective work. She basically put up a load of false stories, and she whittled down, and she basically put it on a private story, which only one account could see.
Yeah, so she hid stories from everyone except one user.
Exactly.
And it was, with 10 dots for dramatic effect,
it's
Rebekah Vardy's account.
Yes, we all remember that now. Yeah. But Rebekah Vardy was...
Where were you when you read it?
I was at some doorstep with Pascal Donoghue, and I remember specifically him being asked which side he was on, and I was like, I'm Team Rebekah.
I was up the Wicklow Mountains.
Were you?
I was doing a walk around the Guinness Lake. It was amazing. The one little reception I had was used refreshing my phone. I was like, this is the best day ever.
Oh, I was in the newsroom, and I remember everyone in the newsroom just gasping. They were like, this is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But this has been...
I actually did the package out that day, I think.
It was
not a story to be
That's
signed
an accolade.
It was huge.
So it's now in court.
It's in court because Rebekah Vardy claims that when this all broke, she was very heavily pregnant at the time. She was on holiday. She says that she suffered huge personal losses. All of her friends turned on her.
7 months pregnant at the time.
7 months pregnant, exactly. That there was huge health impact, that there was, obviously, people started posting rat emojis under her things on Instagram, that it really cost her, and she claims it was not her.
Yeah.
This is her defence, that it was not her.
And she went on Lee's Women and had broke down crying over it and everything. She was very distressed.
The crux of libel, for people who don't understand the whole sort of media thing, is that basically you argue that your good name was unfairly smeared by someone else, that someone said something which A, wasn't true, and B, damaged your character or your good name as a result, which has led to a genuinely comical opening 2 days as we record this of legal proceedings, which has there's a guy, the media editor from The Guardian, Jim Watterson, is among many people who've been tweeting it, and it's just gold.
Jim is honestly gold himself at this point. Now, just to point out to you, the crucial part of what Colleen Rooney said was the word account. It was Rebekah Vardy's account. And that's going to be crucial in terms of, I suppose, Colleen Rooney defending herself and all of this.
But all of this is because Rebekah Vardy is the person instigating this case. She is suing Colleen Rooney because her good name was maligned, and she says unfairly. So she is the one who is, from the outset, is trying to convince the court that she is the victim here. And the first couple of days of court proceedings have not given that impression. For the person who is instigating the case, at the time that we're recording this, she's not having the greatest PR experience of the whole thing.
I think it's been one of the great joys of my life to be off work today, and have the time to sit at home, scroll through the timeline, look at the courtroom sketches, which are marvellous, by the way. We'll come back to them.
Sketches are dreadful.
We'll come back to them. But Colleen Rooney or Rebekah Vardy, I should say, has been in the stand effectively for the first 2 days of this. And Colleen Rooney's lawyer has been taking her to task over what he would say is a history of her putting stories in the press, text messages between herself and her agent, effectively saying, leaking stories and trying to leak stories to the press about whether that be her husband Jamie Vardy, the Leicester City and England footballer,
no longer having a party as a result of all of this.
Yeah, Jamie Vardy having a party, but basically leaking stories to the press about his teammates and other people, and it's not been good. I can see in my mind's eye, if I was Rebekah Vardy and I was looking at how everything has gone since she's taken this case, and the absolute circus that it's been, and the embarrassment of having your texts read out to all of the media editors and correspondents and the world, and people who don't even focus on the news are watching and reading this and listening to podcasts about this, and every one of your texts, which are highly embarrassing.
But particularly because she's trying to say that she was unfairly smeared by Colleen Rooney's accusation in this post, and yet it's already been established that she does have an established habit of feeding information to the press to curry positive coverage of herself.
And very unfortunate turn of events, in fairness, with the agent's phone ending up in the North Sea and a couple of other factors along along the way there. Just worth noting as well that David Sherburn, who's working for Colleen Rooney, also represented Meghan Markle in her case as well. So there's definitely, you know, a bit of a heavyweight in terms of that.
Well, all of which brings us back to the first question, which is what is your favourite piece of testimony so far from the opening 2 days? Because there's so much to think of.
There's so much. It's kind of hard to pick a favourite. I feel very sorry for Peter Andre that he got dragged into it, to be honest.
We have to explain why.
We have to explain why. So Rebekah Vardy was asked in the stand by Colleen Rooney's senior counsel, or QC as it will be over there, do you consider yourself to be someone who respects privacy? And she says yes. And the counsel then read out an extract from an interview that she previously gave where she described having sex with the singer Peter Andre. This obviously before she met and married Jamie Vardy, in which she was quite ungenerous about what she called his trouser equipment, and likened it to a small chipolata, which is a cocktail sausage, which I had to check with you guys earlier on what that means, because I didn't know what it was.
No, I had to Google chipolata. Yeah. I'm not going to lie, I Googled.
So she says she respects privacy, but she likens the penises of former partners to a cocktail sausage.
I think it is important to say that her defence for this and her reasoning around this was that she says that she was forced to do this interview by her husband of the time, and she says that she has changed since then, but it is evidence which is going to be used to sort of paint her as the sort of person who does not respect people's privacy and who gives things freely to the press. The whole point of this is, though, because Colleen Rooney is being sued for defamation on this one, Colleen Rooney effectively has to prove one of two things, right? That either it was Rebekah Vardy directly who leaked all this stuff, the stories about whether she was considering going on Dancing with the Stars, that her flat was being flooded, and that
was the giveaway story. She faked that her basement had been flooded, and that was the story that was viewed by only one account, which was Rebekah Vardy's account. And
well, all of them were viewed by just the one account along the way.
The other big bogus story, which was
the one about the gender. They were going away for
she was going
IVF.
To travel to Mexico for gender selection treatment.
Yeah.
So Colleen Rooney has to prove that either this was definitely Rebekah Vardy who did this, or, you know, to a certain degree that this is absolutely something.
Even though the word account is included in it, she didn't imply that it was definitely Rebekah Vardy, because I mean, a lot of these celebrities, or people who don't understand, would have people managing their Instagram accounts who would have access. That brings me to the next point. Their businesses, you know.
Yeah, is that she can also win this if she proves that Rebekah Vardy's agent did this on an understanding of approval from Rebekah Vardy. So if she does that, Rebekah Vardy loses again. The only way Rebekah Vardy wins this is if it is established by the court that effectively her agent went off on a complete solo run on this and did this herself.
And the couple of texts that we've seen between them suggest they were close, and that there was a lot of communication between them.
When she discovers that Colleen Rooney has blocked her from the personal account, and the agent texts her to say, babe, has Colleen just unfollowed you? And this isn't even going out in a broadcast, but we can't really repeat the word that she uses back. It's a 4-letter C word to say that that's what Colleen is for having blocked her. I'm going to text her now. So there's already an established relationship between the two of them that this might be par for the course. Might be.
So look, we spoke about this earlier today. I mean, this is running into the millions in terms of the cost of this case.
I think it's 3 million is the estimate.
3 million is the estimate, and people say that's really a modest estimate.
Extraordinary amount of money.
If you were cynical, you might argue that this type of money is a bargain in terms of the publicity and the attention that has been drawn to both of these women. Now, listen, it may be negative publicity, and we'll trash that out.
There is such a thing as negative publicity.
But the reality, Gavan, and you know, at the end of the day, you know, they couldn't buy this level of coverage. This is, you know, you can see it's a circus at the court every day. It's a huge amount of coverage, and both of them, you know, are clearly people who trade on that type of media coverage.
My favourite bit of the whole thing so far,
go on,
and I did mention it earlier on, is Wayne Rooney.
So the court's images, because Britain still has the whole habit of having courtroom illustrations of some chalk artist doing likenesses of those in the witness box. Do you think Wayne Rooney looks like Wayne Rooney, or do you think he looks more like Conor McGregor or Labour TD Jed Nash or any other generic bearded bald man?
Because of the interest in it, there are so many different courtroom artists who are in there.
Depends on which one you look at.
It really does.
There's a variety there.
Some of them looks like former, government minister Rory Quinn.
Fair, yeah.
There's Jed Nash, there's Conor McGregor, there's WWE wrestler Triple H is in there as well. And
there's none of
these look particularly flattering. Yeah. And it's so interesting that there's like 7 or 8 different artists in the same room and they still can't draw the same dude. One of the most recognisable figures in recent British history, Wayne Rooney, the top goal scorer
in England's football history.
And just some of the details from court from Jim Watterson and other people who are covering it, basically saying that Wayne Rooney has been devoutly by the side of Colleen Rooney throughout this. And been basically a few feet away.
Hasn't always been
nemesis.
He hasn't always been devoutly
by the side.
Controversial comments here. But just a few feet away from Rebekah Vardy, and how he is basically taken on the role of effectively showing very strong public support for his wife, holding the door open for her, and then she'd be quite slow to react. So you just have England's all-time record goal scorers there standing in the courtroom holding the door open and loads of passes file past and just go on through.
Bye.